Alright guys, in order to be successful for today's instruction, everyone needs a focus, a study guide, and a whiteboard. On your whiteboard, please tell me what is the most popular type of research done on lifespan? Because it is a hybrid. Good. What is it, Bernstein? Consequential. On your whiteboard, please tell me which type of study gives us the most information, but it is very expensive. Good, Drew. Longitudinal. On your whiteboard. Hey, Drew, before you leave today, stay after class, I have to give you your login information for AP. Okay. He's in no trouble before you get, I just need to give you your login information. So please, do you have a minute after class? Yeah. On your whiteboard, please tell me what gives us a lot of information very quick, but gives us no long term. What is it, Mateo? Cross-sectional. On your whiteboard, please tell me what is it called when you learn from your environment? Good. What is it, Grace Mary? What is it called when you get it from your mama? Good. Caroline? Nature. On your whiteboard, please tell me. Nope, we gotta go. All right, here we go. All right, so tomorrow you do have a test, despite the fact that I've been telling you for a week now when your test is. Please make sure you're ready for your test tomorrow. So we are starting with genetics. Okay, it's on your study guide, I believe, right? Yeah? We're going to fill this whole thing in real quick. Here we go. So genetics is the science of inherited traits. Every single one of you, as we did last week, kind of pilled out things that you got from your mama and your papas, yes? Those are all genetics, which means you're going to pass some of those things down. Do you get a choice on which ones you pass? Not a shot in hell. No, you're not even in those. What? Yeah, we're going to talk about that too in a little bit. But yeah, we won't even be able to do that. Now, your DNA is a special molecule that contains all of your genetic material. And that will identify what about you makes you you. Like how tall you're going to be, what you're going to look like, all that stuff. Okay, so DNA is what makes you you. In your DNA, you have genes. Your genes are a section of DNA that have the same arrangement or chemical elements. Your genes is what decides whether you have blonde hair or brown hair, blue eyes, brown eyes, short, tall, those types of things. When we look at what?
Do we have the technology to be able to take a piece of somebody's DNA and see based on that, see what they would look like?
We're working on it. It's called designer DNA, and it's kind of it's both a good thing and a bad thing, because frankly, there's a movie about this where people adjusted the DNA, so everyone's like beautiful, and then the ugly people are considered beautiful because they're special. Which, can we make this happen? That would be great. But yeah, when you start messing with people's genes, there's some good things that we can do. Like right now in 2019, we can they look at when you're pregnant, they look at what genes your kid is going to have, and then you can decide whether if it's too dangerous or not to have the kid. Right? Like if your kid's diagnosed with a really rare disease that's going to be incredibly painful from the moment they're born, and they're not going to live a long life, they can terminate the pregnancy so the child will not be born into a painful situation. Does that make sense? So those are some of the tests that we can do. Now, you have your own opinion of whether that is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. Well, I'm not trying to tell you what is right and what is wrong. You can make that decision for yourself. But that's some of the tests that we can do now in 2019, which I think is a good thing in some regards. It's also a bad thing in other regards. Can we agree? Like, for instance, Tim Tebow is a big example. Apparently, he had a very high percentage of being born with a really deadly disease. And so the doctor who delivered Tim Tebow told his mom that he's probably going to live a very painful, terrible life. You can terminate the pregnancy. It's up to you. And Tim Tebow's mom, obviously, said, no, we're going to continue with the pregnancy. She gave birth. He happened to not have it. And then here we are today with Tim Tebow.
Who's he?
He's like a
Huh?
minor
Who's Tim Tebow?
Oh, you're really not a Florida boy,
He's a
are you?
girl.
I was
He's
a
like
trophy winner.
He was in fact good.
I don't think that's
That's
true,
awesome.
but
Best NFL player of all time.
oh, absolutely, maybe the best MLB player of all
He's
time.
probably better than Brady.
Are you kidding me?
He's awful.
Oh, cool. What's Tim Tebow doing right now?
He's probably better than Brady right now. Yeah, definitely.
Plays for the
He's a
most
noodle.
single A team.
He's a new one.
Do you know how lovely Friday was? Do you know how I deserve
Yeah.
that? I think I also
You
deserve it
deserve
today, so we're not going to play into it. Okay. You also have recessive dominant. Your genes are dominant and recessive. The genes you're displaying right now are your dominant genes. Okay? But you also carry recessive genes. For instance, my cousin Kyle and his wife Sarah got pregnant. They realized very early on that their daughter might be carrying cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a very deadly disease, and even in 2019 in the United States, you have a very early death deadline. Typically, most people die by the age of like 25. Even here in the United States, with all the medical care we have, cystic fibrosis essentially it turns your lungs into stone, and they suffocate to death. It's a really terrible, terrible way to live, die, the whole thing. With that being said, because Kyle and Sarah are both carriers for it, they had to get tested. And because of that, we got tested. Because if there's other genes that are similar, that you can help kind of replace genes and kind of work through it and stuff like that. So I got tested. I'm a carrier for cystic fibrosis. Now, in order to find someone to give your kid cystic fibrosis, you have to find two people who have the recessive cystic fibrosis genes. Every 1 in 500,000 people carry the recessive gene. How common is it? 1 in 5. Well, no, that's one person has it, but you need to find another, so it's 1 in a million. It's 2, whatever it is.
Yeah, you
Okay?
have to multiply 500,000.
Whatever.
It's
The two people meeting is very, very rare. So, Kyle, they figured it out. Sarah, Lola, which is the name of his daughter, does not have cystic fibrosis, but we all got diagnosed. We all have the cystic fibrosis. I'm a carrier for it. We got McCrae tested, just in case we decide to have kids. McCrae is not a carrier, so will I have a kid with cystic fibrosis? No, because he is not a carrier. He is not a recessive carrier of it either. So, dominant is what you express. Recessive is what you carry. So, in your genes right now, you may carry a redhead gene. And if you make a baby with someone else who has a recessive redhead gene, if you have 4 kids, you're probably going to have one with, yeah, red hair. Wouldn't that be cool? I like red hair. I always liked red hair. I wanted to be Ariel when I was a little kid. Yeah. Anyway, chromosomes are tightly wound DNA strand of material or DNA. You have 23 chromosomes that you pass on to your kid. Your partner will give 23 chromosomes for a total of 46 pairs. Not true. 23 pairs, just kidding. Okay, so that chromosome is going to be made and mixed the moment of conception. Now, diseases that are carried by chromosomes. Cystic fibrosis, which I was just telling you I'm a carrier of, so I'm pretty special.
So you're 1 in 500,000?
Yeah, I know, so you're welcome.
That's crazy.
Okay, you know someone important is what I'm saying. Okay, actually that's
It's about 6.
not the case. Huh?
It's about 600 in the US.
I know, pretty big deal. We should like get together.
Take over a small town.
Yeah, it'd be wild. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, keep in mind if you have like Down syndrome in your family, okay, you have to find someone, make a baby with someone who also carries that recessive gene. How common is that?
Not common.
It's not that common, which is why we don't have lots of people born with Down syndrome, Klinefelters, Turners. All of these cases are very, very small because you have to find someone who's carrying the recessive gene of it. So, like I've always suggested, on date number 3, you find someone, you had a great first date, second date, go get your blood tested, man. Figure out what genes you're carrying, and then you can figure out to go for it or not.
Do they have to test your blood?
Yeah, it's DNA tests. Yeah, they can figure out exactly what you have and what you don't have.
Isn't like your hair technically DNA? and stuff too?
Sweetie,
Maybe a different.
Do they
does
have-
it look like I'm living my best life right now? Does it look like I want to? I do. Just go with it.
The odds are 225 billion for the cystic fibrosis. I didn't.
Cool. There you go. Okay, here we go. Let's do it. Alright, here we go. So, conception. So, how do you make a baby? I'm not going through the gruesome act because, frankly, I just don't have the strength.
I don't.
So, in order to make a baby, you need to have sperm and an egg. An unfertilized egg is called an ovum. By the way, I have all this really nicely broken down on my board over here, too. You may want to take a peek because it's a nice little cheat sheet. Okay? So, at conception, in order for conception to occur, you need to have sperm, which is carrying 23 chromosomes. You have an egg, which is ovum, fancy term for an egg, which is non-fertilized, is called an ovum, and they carry 23 chromosomes. When conception occurs, it's called fertilization. That is when the egg and the sperm mix, and there are 23 new blends of chromosomes. Now, ladies in the room, every single one of you were born with all of your ovums. You're filled with hundreds of ovums. Ew, right? Isn't that weird? That's weird.
So then why don't they like hatch eggs?
Like, in my head, it makes it sound like they're like chickens.
Yeah, I know, that's what I
Like,
was
you just
thinking.
want to get one of them to start
But
clicking.
like if
and
you
stuff.
have the egg, then why don't-
Yeah, well, we're born with them.
Just
Like, you
wait.
make them in like week 14 of pregnancy, by the way. Like, if you're carrying a female, you make them in like week 14 for your kid. Isn't that crazy? That's wild. Anyway, why? Because it takes time to mature. Your first ovum typically doesn't mature until you hit puberty, and most girls hit puberty between 11 and 13. So that's when your first time one of your ovums have matured enough that they could carry a child. So, one ovum matures every single month. And that's why we have periods. Okay, you got it.
I got what I was going.
Okay, perfect. So, when we're talking about sperm and egg, now, gentlemen, your sperm is made in a 24-hour cycle. Every 24 hours, you make new sperm. Which is why men can reproduce later in life, while women can stop carrying children in their early 40s, late 30s, early 40s, depending on genetics and stuff like that. Men can keep having children until their late 60s. Because men's sperm, they make sperm every 24 hours, while women were born with all of our ovums. So when my mother, who I saw this weekend, reminded me that my eggs are getting really stale and that they are trying to serve God's purpose, that I should, hurry this along. This is a real life conversation I had with my mother this weekend. That's what she's talking about, because my eggs are 32 years old. And she's like, at 32, I had 3 children. And I said immediately, and I regret it, because she was so mad. I was like, but were you happy at 32? And she's like, I lived a very happy life. I was like, anyway, so fertilization is when the eggs and the sperm create 23 blends. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment the egg and the sperm come together, that's when your genetic code is made. So who you are right now was made however old you are, plus 9 months. That is how much your whole DNA is embodied into every single thing. A fertilized egg is called a zygote, and it becomes a zygote immediately. So right now, ladies, you are filled with hundreds of ovums. Hundreds of them. They estimate between 400 to 500 are what women are born with. Holy hell! Why the hell do we need so much? Anyway, moving forward. Okay? Now, as soon as the zygote...
I just made a question.
No, I don't want questions.
No, it's a good question. It's not about.
I think
Hold
it's
on.
a big one.
Once the zygote is created, it immediately starts splitting. So, the egg and the sperm come together and create a zygote. They estimate within 10 seconds, it splits for the first time and now has 2 cells. Then those 2 cells then split immediately, making 4 cells. Those 4 cells split and make 8 cells. Those 8 cells split and make, and that replication is going to be occurring throughout the whole stage. Okay? What?
So is there a limit to how many kids
Okay.
500.
Like
Okay.
if you,
No.
is there like any limit?
No, it's not. There is a limit, but every woman is different because of your genetics, as well as how well your body is treated. Like if you eat really healthy, you should have easier pregnancies. Now, ladies and gentlemen, ladies in the room, your body is not equipped to give birth 300 times like the Duggars chick. Okay, like that's not normal. It's not normal because the wear and tear pregnancy has on you. Like there's an old Irish adage. Isn't this voice amazing for teaching sex ed? I could not be happier.
I like it.
It's great. It could not be better. With that being said, there's an old Irish adage that says for every child you have a tooth loss. Like all the bones being made by you for your child is coming from a lot of the bone density from your own body. So a lot of the nutrients that you use to build up your bones is going towards your new baby, which is why the more children you have, the more brittle women become. Now today, 2019, is as bad as it was in the early days? No, but it still has a huge wear. So the average woman only carries like 1.5 kids because it is so hard on carrying a child. Is so hard. So your body gives you extra eggs in case some fail and stuff like that. Some women release extra eggs and other things, which lead us into the next thing. So, anyone here have twins in their family? Okay, so if you have twins in your family, it's coming from 2 different ways. First way is in 2019 we have in vitro fertilization, okay, which means they take your mom's eggs, your dad's sperm, put them in a petri dish and go, whoa, and they swish them around, and then they inject it back into your mom's uterus and say, hopefully it works. And it costs $50,000.
You should just do that at home.
That's so wild.
If you're an in vitro baby, your parents really wanted you, and they spent a lot of money to have you. So good for you. You are really loved, okay? I'm just saying. So if you are an in vitro baby, because how invasive it is, and it's really hard, because to harvest a woman's eggs, they have to go into your little egg sacs that are attached to your fallopian tubes, and they have to remove them without damaging other eggs. It gets very invasive. You go on hormones for months. It's really invasive to take those eggs out, put them in the petri dish, swirl it around, and then they have to inject it back into you. It's very invasive. It's very dangerous, and you can have ruptures. You can lose the ability to carry a child if the process goes poorly. With that being said, when they take those eggs out, you think they're going to do it with one egg? Do all this risk for one egg? No, they're going to take multiple eggs at a time. So because of that harvesting, they put all the eggs in a petri dish, swirl it around, and they're hoping at least one of them will stick. Well, sometimes we have multiples, which is why we have like the Octomom, who had 8 pregnancies with 1 in vitro fertilization. Because they pulled eggs from her and she happened to be super fertile, and then all 8 eggs hatched, which is why she had 8 kids. So once you have the zygote, so if you're in vitro fertilization, it can kind of foster. Now, naturally, Caroline, you said you have twins in your family. Are they natural or are they in vitro?
Natural.
They're natural. Okay, cool. What kind of twins are they?
They're fraternal. Well, it's my mom, and then, well, it's not like my siblings, but it's like my mom and her brother.
That's awesome. Okay, you're more likely to have twins because your mom is one. So you have that coming. Good luck, girl. Okay, so there's 2 types of twins in the world. There's monozygotic and dizygotic. Okay? Monozygotic is we have the zygote. A zygote is a fertilized egg. The egg and the sperm come together, they fertilize, and that becomes a fertilized egg. It becomes a zygote. Immediately, what happens is that zygote, for no reason, we have no idea why, it completely splits in half and creates 2 separate people. It's a genetic thing. If you have identical twins in your family, you can happen. If you do not, like I don't have twins at all in my family, which means I'm not going to have identical twins. Okay, because I find them creepy, I'm just going to say. I'm just kidding. What do you got,
Does
Lauren?
it have to be on the female side?
It typically is passed down from mother to daughter, typically, but doesn't always have to be. Okay? So if you're monozygotic twins, you're identical twins. you have one zygote, so one fertilized egg, one sperm. Sorry. So the DNA is similar, okay, right? Because the sperm brings 23, the egg brings 23, okay, to make 23 new pairs. One zygote splits and makes two different people, which is why they're called identical. Now, dizygotic. Anyone have dizygotic? They're like fraternal twins in their family? Clear? Okay. What that means is that their mom, your grandma, or whoever it is, release 2 eggs at a time. So instead of your bodies, ladies, naturally release 1 egg every single month because that 1 egg matures, well, some women's bodies release multiple eggs. We don't really know why, but some genetically do, and that's called dizygotic. So it's 2 eggs are released. Those 2 eggs, 1 egg is fertilized by a sperm, the other egg is fertilized by a sperm. They're as closely related as me and my 4-year-older brother. They're as similar as you are with your twins, except they're born at the same time. So fraternal twins are your mixed sets. Like one can be a boy, one can be a girl. I hate when I hear people say, oh, you have a twin? Yeah, his name's Steve. Oh, are you fraternal? Are you identical? No, I don't have a penis. You can't be identical unless you both have penises. Like, that's not how things work. They're called dizygotic. Their mother released 2 eggs at the same time. And those were impregnated by different sperm, which created 2 different people. Everyone good? Okay. So, the terminology you need to know by now is zygote, which is a fertilized egg, monozygotic, dizygotic. Okay, here is a nice little diagram for you. Wonderful. Okay, so periods of pregnancy. Okay, your first stage of pregnancy is called your germinal stage. Your germinal stage is from conception to 2 weeks. Now, for the ladies in the room, it's absolutely important you hear this. For the gentlemen in the room, it is also absolutely important you hear this, because if you've decided, gentlemen, that you are going to have sex, then you better know the consequences of it and how it's going to work, especially if you decide you want to bring a child into this world. Now, during the germinal stage, okay, we have a zygote. That zygote actually gets impregnated with the sperm in the fallopian tubes. So, in the fallopian tubes is when the sperm and the ovum, or the unfertilized eggs, meet. And then from there, it takes about 2 weeks for the zygote, which is the fertilized egg, to float. In my head, it floats. It floats from the fallopian tubes to the uterus. I don't know, do you think it rolls down? Because it can't roll down, because if it rolled down, then it would attach to the fallopian tubes, and that's called a microscopic pregnancy. Have you heard of those? It is really, really dangerous. 1 in every 150 women will endure a microscopic pregnancy, which is when a zygote attaches to your fallopian tube. And it obviously, is that where a baby's supposed to grow? No. So it explodes, and when so I used to work at Outback, that's where I waited tables, and I had a girl, she got married one weekend, and her sister died from a microscopic pregnancy the following Monday morning. She died in her shower. She was in pain all weekend. Everyone thought, she was like, oh, it's just cramps, it's just cramps. And she died because it exploded, and she bled to death. Yeah. So ladies, you need to know what is normal and what is not normal, and if it's not normal, you need to go do something about it. Can we agree? They're pretty common. It's typically not obviously result in death, but women do die from it on a very regular basis by paying attention. But ectopic pregnancy is not microscopic. There you go. Sorry, it's this brass. And it kind of just hurts. Okay, so germinal. So in my head it floats because if it rolled, it would attach, and you can't do that. So during the germinal stage, ladies and gentlemen, you will not know you're pregnant. You know how there's a pregnancy test called, what are the names of the pregnancy tests? You see them on TV all the damn time. Clear Blue will tell you first.
Do they literally just say yes and no like they do on TV?
Yeah, instead of the plus and the minuses, which are confusing. They do have,
do they say yes or no in real life? Or?
Yeah, I think so. That's what the little ads tell me.
So they literally just say yes?
Are you pregnant? Yes.
That's wrong.
Anyway,
This is the
2 weeks, they tell you, we'll tell you first in 2 weeks. it has to take 2 weeks because when the zygote is like floating around, like whoa, going from the fallopian tube to the uterus, it's not attached to anything. So your body has no idea, which is a good thing because if you don't know you're pregnant, ladies, what are you probably still doing? You're drinking, absolutely, because you're going to be in your mid to late 20s, early 30s when you decide to have children, and because you've created a stable life and a stable environment for that kid. You're waiting a long time. You're probably drinking, having a couple glasses of wine on the weekends and stuff like that. You will do no damage to your child if you're drinking during the terminal stage because there's no blood being shared. No blood is shared during this time, and you also can't tell if you're pregnant during this time because there's no way to indicate it. So, during this time period, it goes from your fallopian tubes to the uterus. It's not attached, and it's building cell masses. So you know how I said immediately it divides and creates 2? The zygote immediately divides and creates 4 and starts. It's just making cell masses at this point. It's not being specialized. So right now it's just like doubling its size. It's just getting bigger and bigger. Okay? So after the 2 weeks, it then attaches to your uterine wall. Okay? Once it attaches to your uterine wall, you enter the embryonic stage. Okay? So the embryonic stage is when you have an embryo. Makes sense, correct? Logically. Okay? An embryo is when the zygote has attached to the uterine wall. Where it attaches is where what's the thing that goes to your belly button? Umbilical cord. Yeah, that's where the umbilical cord attaches to the uterine wall. Okay? So, the embryonic stage is the attachment of the zygote to the uterine wall. The moment the zygote attaches to the uterine wall, it becomes an embryo. And that embryo, this is where you start having the beginning of major organs being specialized. Okay? During this stage, between week 2 and week 8, is when you have specific cells that are being shaped and that'll eventually become a brain. Oh, this is going to be a lung. Oh, this is going to be an eyeball. That's when you start having cell specialties starting to arise. During this time period, during the embryonic stage, it is really important that we understand there's critical periods. Critical periods are special times when certain organs are being created. I don't know, but say week 8, that's when you're really developing the heart. So during week 8, if you're drinking during week 8, what are you damaging?
Heart.
The heart. Okay, week 4, they're really doing brain development. Guess what you're really hurting by drinking? The brain development. So historically, throughout the times, we didn't think the embryonic stage was that important. So we used to tell pregnant women that you can drink until week 9, but after week 9, stop drinking. Guess what? We've now realized that the embryonic stage is actually way more important than we thought. Most of your brain development is occurring during this stage. So, ladies in the room, it is super important that you need to know when your body is changing and when it's different. You have to be able to pick it up intuitively, because if you don't, you're going to hurt that future child. Gentlemen, it is also important that if you decide that you're going to get a chick pregnant, your girl better know what the hell she's doing. That she understands what is happening. And that she understands and will be a good future mother by paying attention to know how things work, right? So it is also your responsibility to be up on it as well. Like if you decide you're going to have a child, then you better be talking about, well, how often is your period? How regular is it? Will you be able to tell a difference between, because there is a difference. As soon as you have the attachment to the uterine wall, you can take a pregnancy test and you can check in week 2. Now, do ladies, maybe you can tell the gentlemen in the room, do we take a pee test every couple weeks, ladies? No, God, no. So you have to know that there's something happening in order to do it. Does every woman know the differences? Now, there's so many TV shows. TLC, I didn't know I was pregnant. And then they go to the bathroom and they poop out a kid. Right? And you're like, holy shit. You don't want one of those people. You've never seen those shows? They're like, how? How? So, gentlemen, it is your responsibility to know that if you're going to impregnate a woman, that you're picking someone who actually knows what the hell they're doing, because At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, it's your genes, it's your kid. Whether you have a smart kid or a dumb kid, guess what?
It's yours.
It's yours. You gotta pay for it. You gotta raise it. You gotta deal with it. Do we want a smart kid or a dumb kid? Yeah, so pick someone who's going to do the right thing, gentlemen, ladies. You gotta be good there for the kid, because at the end of the day, it's all about that nursing home. Because if you have a dumb kid, you're gonna have a shit nursing home. If you have a smart kid, you're gonna have a good nursing home.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. I
If
mean,
they-
the
if
way
they-
you treat your kid, that'll also dictate your nursing home. But there'll be more options because they're smarter, so you have to make these decisions. Not necessarily based on nursing home. But, what, Claire? Terry Togans are up in there.
These types of things are like drinking is considered nurture, right?
Yeah, it's environment. Okay, so teratogons are any factors that cause birth defects. So here are some major common ones. Obviously, I don't know about you, but I'm trying to give up my coke habit. I'm trying to stop my cocaine habit, you know.
It's tough.
I know, it's really hard, man. You know, just those wild Tuesday nights, you can't help it. That's the joke. That was the joke. You see what I did there? As my girl Diana was giving me shit for drinking sparkling water earlier.
It was a joke until you actually said cocaine.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, these are the common ones. Now, as you can see, obviously cocaine is a pretty extreme one. I think we can all agree that embryo or a fetus being exposed to cocaine probably isn't the best thing.
Kind of raw.
Please stop talking, Aiden. Okay? However, caffeine, ladies and gentlemen, if you drink too much caffeine, you can cause a miscarriage, ladies. Yeah, and low birth weights. Okay? If you go to the doctors, they probably start asking you this now. Honestly, are you pregnant? When you go to the doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah, they start asking all women starting age like 13, 14. Okay, and they'll ask you. I remember I was in the room with my dad. We went to the dentist, and my dad was standing. I was like 14, and this is not the first time a doctor asked me. He's like, "Are you pregnant?" And I was like so nervous because my dad was. I was not pregnant. Hello. Okay, I'm 32. My mother's disappointed in me. We've already gone through this. Okay. With that being said, my dad almost he literally choked on nothing and was like, "What? She's 14." And I just sat there in silence, like horrified, because my dad just exploded. But it's very common. The reason is because being exposed to radiation, it can cause cancers to be developed and physical, all those different types of things. So when you decide you're mature enough to have sex, okay, when you decide that you're mature enough that you're going to have a child and want to plan for a child, you have to be making sure you're keeping these into consideration. And it is not just the ladies in the room, gentlemen. It is your responsibility as well. If you decide you're going to start family planning and starting this whole thing, you need to be making sure you and your partner are on the same damn page. What?
Wait, but as a guy, I can do coke.
I don't think it's probably going to work out well for your sperm. I'm just going to say, I don't think
Someone's
cocaine
Googled
is
that.
known for its sexual.
I don't know. I don't know. It gives you a lot of energy.
Moving forward. Okay, so from stage 2 to 8, you're in your embryonic stage. Okay, you have embryos in you. Then from 8 to birth, you have the fetal stage. During the fetal stage, you have a fetus. Okay, this is when you have the largest body mass growth. Okay, this is when the fetus is growing the fastest, and this is when you typically are the most uncomfortable. Yeah. Okay, so the fetal stage.
Someone that could remember everything that happened when they were in the.
They can't. There's no way. They don't have the brain cells to do it. Okay. Now. You have something called a miscarriage underneath fetus. A miscarriage is early in the pregnancy, between 0 to 8 weeks, when your body terminates 8 to 12. It's 0 to 12 weeks, not 8 weeks. 0 to 12 weeks. It's called a miscarriage. When a woman's body naturally rejects a pregnancy. 1 in 3 women will have a miscarriage. However, they estimate that most women have a miscarriage. You just didn't know you were pregnant in the first place. Does that make sense? You had no idea you were pregnant, so you didn't know you had a miscarriage, and it passes without. because it's not a large mass. You're typically going to, 1 in 3 women in this room will have a miscarriage. Look at all the women in the room. Okay? So, if this many in this room have it, how many women in your life do you know who had a miscarriage? A lot. A lot. McCrae's mom had 8 miscarriages. McCrae is a miracle baby. She went on bed rest at week 9 of her pregnancy.
What does that mean?
She was lying in a bed since week 9. There's 38 weeks to a pregnancy. She had to quit her job.
She toughed it out from a crib.
Toughed it out from McCrae. She had 8 miscarriages before McCrae. That's insane.
That's wrong.
Okay.
Did he meet Bush?
Huh?
Was that illegal?
He was hammered when I met him. He did not puke in all the bushes. He actually ran a PR because they threatened his life.
Who'd you meet?
You weren't here on Friday. You don't know what.
It's on record.
No, miscarriages happen from week 0 from conception to week 12. Then you have spontaneous abortions. Spontaneous abortion is below miscarriage. It's from 12 weeks to birth. You're going to want to listen. From 12 weeks to birth, your body, ladies, can reject a pregnancy and terminate the babies. Your body can reject the pregnancy from week 12. If you decide to get pregnant, you typically don't tell people until week 12 that you're pregnant because you're highly likely to have a miscarriage. And the awkwardness of telling people, hey, I'm pregnant, oh, the baby, it didn't make it, is a conversation you don't want to have. Can we agree? Which is why you're not supposed to tell people you're pregnant until you're week 12. Then we have things called spontaneous abortions. Spontaneous abortions is when your body terminates a pregnancy. Why does a body terminate a pregnancy? It terminates a pregnancy because women can only give birth to so many children. Your body is trying to send the best possible genes into the world. If it doesn't think you'll survive childhood, it kills you off, trying to protect your genes. So, when a spontaneous abortion happens, it's your body is trying to protect your genes. Now, people have lost children to spontaneous abortion in month 8, 9 of their pregnancies, which the real heartache of it, they still have to deliver in week 8, in month 8 and 9. You go in and you give birth to what we call stillborns. Now, in 2019, here in the United States, is that common? No, but it is still pretty common from week 12 to 20 that spontaneous abortions do occur. Now, depending on where you are when this happens in the process, one in every 200 will have a spontaneous abortion. McCrae's mom lost a child in week 19, which is very far along. She went to the hospital and she had to give birth. Week 19, it wasn't a huge, it's not like a full size, but I mean, it's still a lot. So, it is your body simply trying to prepare its best genes for the world. Okay? So, it does happen. Miscarriages are very common. That's from 0 to 12 weeks are very common. I guarantee you right now, every person in this room, man or woman, you know 5 or 6 people have had miscarriages, you just don't know it. Because damn it, it is not your business. But it is super, super common. Alright.
I'm impressed if you did a lot.
I did.
You have a great day.